name is Annika Brown, and today I am going to go over my copyright lesson using the Assure model. So our first step of the Assure model is analyze learner characteristics. And the first thing we're going to do is look at general characteristics of our students. So the students in Mrs. Stort's 7th grade reading class are of mixed ethnicities and from low to middle income homes. They are fairly equally distributed with regard to gender and are all either 12 to 13 years old. Student reading ability is at grade level and student behavior problems are minimal. Next, we're going to look at the entry competencies. The students are in general able to do the following tasks required to complete the lesson activities. Use Chromebooks, use Google Classroom to retrieve their assignments, and create and save a presentation using Google Slides. Now we will have to do a little bit of differentiation because all of our students learn differently. So the 7th grade students learn best when engaged in hands-on and student-driven activities that are interesting and challenging. The students' level of interest and motivation increases when working in a team and given the opportunity to share and debate ideas with their classmates. And the students vary in the style with which they prefer to demonstrate their learning. When creating the presentation, some students prefer to type the content. Others prefer to be creative and create the template and layout of the slides, while others prefer to present their findings to the class. Our next step is state objectives. So we're going to start with our curriculum standards. The student is expected to engage in meaningful discourse and provide and accept constructive feedback from others. The student is expected to make inferences and use evidence to support understanding. The student is expected to respond using newly acquired vocabulary as appropriate. And the student is expected to use an appropriate mode of delivery, whether written, oral, or multimodal, to present results. Our technology standards include that the student will be able to demonstrate an understanding of and respect for the rights and obligations of using and sharing intellectual property, and students communicate clearly and express themselves creatively for a variety of purposes using the platforms, tools, styles, formats, and digital media appropriate to their goal. And then last we have our learning objectives. Given different copyright scenarios and technological resources, 7th grade students, divided into groups of 4, will identify if their scenario is an example of copyright infringement or fair use. Students will then demonstrate their knowledge by creating a presentation in Google Slides to defend their decision and stating what could have been done to prevent copyright infringement if fair use is not at play. Our next step is to select, modify, or design materials. This lesson involves student use of Chromebooks, Google Classroom, and Google Slides. The following guidelines were used to assess resource appropriateness. The Chromebooks, Google Classroom, and Google Slides provide necessary tools for students to meet the learning objectives. Accurate and current information is not applicable for the chosen technology and media. Google Slides is written at an appropriate level for 7th grade students. Google Slides provides features such as interesting graphics and sound and personalizing backgrounds and colors that increase student interest level and engagement. Google Slides has superior technical quality. Use of Google Slides requires initial training and support when using some features such as inserting graphics, but students have used Google Slides before and are fairly proficient using all of the features. Google Slides is bias-free, and students are given directions in Google Classroom but students may ask each other or the teacher for assistance on the assignment or if they have any technical difficulties. Our next step is the utilization of materials. So first, we must preview and prepare our resources. I will preview the Google Slides software to ensure that it has the features needed for the lesson. I will also preview the Google Classroom assignment to make sure it has appropriate instructions and guidelines. I will also prepare the copyright lesson given in Prezi as an attachment on the Google Classroom assignment so that students can refer back to it as needed to help with their assignment. Next, we must prepare the environment and prepare the learners. The lesson will take place in the classroom. I will check to ensure that all Chromebooks have been charged and that all students have access to not only Google Classroom, but their student Google accounts. The projector is also tested to ensure that it projects clear images, is properly connected, and displays the Google Slides presentations. Next, I will prepare the learners. To prepare the students, I will introduce the copyright lesson and review the learning objectives. When students are ready, I will review the basics of using Google Slides and how to log into Chromebooks. Next, I will provide the learning experience. The learning experience occurs in the classroom. It involves both teacher-centered and student-centered activities and the use of Chromebooks to produce and present student-centered Google Slides to demonstrate their understanding of copyright rules. Our next step is require learner response. We'll start with a whole class activity. I will introduce the lesson, review the learning objectives, and go over several examples of copyright infringement and fair use with the class. I will use questions to check for student understanding before moving on to the group activity. Following the whole class activity, students will work in groups of 4 to identify their scenarios as an example of copyright infringement or fair use. Students will work together to create a presentation in Google Slides demonstrating their knowledge of copyright rules by defending their decision. Our last step is evaluation. I will use this rubric to evaluate learner achievement. Students will be evaluated based on their ability to demonstrate their understanding of copyright rules and the 4 factors of fair use, the reasons they give to support their decision, the quality of their presentation and their ability to follow copyright rules while creating it, and their ability to work with their peers. If a student does not do their fair share and participate, they will not receive the same grade as the rest of their group mates. At the end of the presentation, the students in the audience will have the opportunity to state if they agree or disagree and explain why. The student-to-student discourse will allow the teacher to further evaluate student understanding of the subject, and it will create a student-centered learning environment where students can learn from each other.